Hey there, film fans. I am Jeff.
I'm Dave.
I'm John, and welcome back to the Love of Cinema.
Welcome back,
in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to make this a drinking game, fuck John, you did this, man.
I did this. I fucked this up. Game. We had technical difficulties. This is round two. We were trying this again. I fucked it up. Jeff, try that intro again. Let's give it a shot.
We are trying to avoid lazy negativity, people. That is why we have made this drinking game, not because we want to drink with friends during a pandemic. When you hear this sound, I promise you, we have just consumed an alcoholic beverage, and we hope you do the same at home.
Yeah.
So, pour yourselves a glass and give it up for some films we love.
Yes.
That's all I can say this week.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. We ditched those Razzies.
Before we talk about that, we're going to send it over to John for a couple quick shout outs.
Mm-hmm.
A couple quick shout outs. We're a drinking podcast. We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroso. He has an Instagram handle at C Barroso Bar 2019. That is CBARROZOBAR 2019 if you want to give him a follow. And if you're digging the music on this episode, and every single episode, the music is made by the artist Dasein. That's Dasein, Dasein. If you want to, you can download all the music for free. Go to over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist, and you can find all the music available right there for you. And as always, if you could please like us, love us, rate, review, subscribe, all the fucking things at the Love of Cinema Pod on every single platform except for Twitter. It's just at the Love of Cinema there. All those fucking things. Please come at us. I did want to say very quickly, her name, I believe, was Maggie Dento, right? Is that correct? I do not have it in front of me.
Yeah, maybe we don't need the last name anyway, in case you didn't.
Don't. We'll
take that out
on YouTube. It's fine.
We'll be editing that out. We had a response. We did two episodes ago. We talked about Sia's film Music, and we had a lovely response from a member of the autistic community who we were talking in our conversation about that, trying to be as respectful and open-minded and educated as possible. And we asked to have some responses from anyone who was a member of the autistic community who saw that film. And Maggie responded to us on the YouTube channel. If you want to head over there and read her response, I learned something. I really appreciated what she said. As always, there is no wrong way to watch a movie. You just need to be honest and truthful about how you felt about it. So thank you, Maggie, for teaching us all something. And everyone, please feel free to respond to all of our things. We really will get back to you, and I think it's going to enrich all of our conversations. So thank you, Maggie.
I love it. I love it when we get feedback. It's awesome.
Yeah, and if it's hate mail, Dave responds surprisingly fast. Surprisingly fast.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting. Come on, come at me.
People, this is week 13 of our Oscar Razzies series. It was the best of film. It was the worst of film. Except this is now the second week of just our Oscar series because fuck the Razzies.
Yep.
So we thought it would be I don't know if you're buzzing me or not.
Both of us really.
We thought it would be a fun gimmick to have great films and not so great films, and then the nominations came out. The Best Supporting Actress list has Glenn Close, who first of all is never on a Razzie list ever. Go fuck yourself, Razzies. It had Kristen Wiig for Cheetah, which get the fuck out of here. That's stupid. It had a 17-year-old girl. It was not her fault. And then Fantasy Island wasn't that bad. So it's such a stupid reminder of why the Razzies suck, even though we actually spend weeks propping it up.
And then on top of that, we found out you have to buy your vote.
And then you buy your vote. Yeah. How many people paid to vote against Glenn Close? Go fuck yourself. Get out of here. Anyway, so we are now just doing Oscar movies. We're going to introduce them in a second, but why don't we go ahead first and go and do a quick round of what you've been watching. Dave, what have you been watching?
All right, I'm going to rattle these off quick because there's a lot. I kept going with Legion, which just gets weirder and weirder. I'm in season 3 now. They've started messing with time. It's great. Everyone's been hassling me to watch the Ozark. I finally started. And
nice.
I am loving it. I watched the first episode on the train, and there was one moment where I literally jumped on the train, and people were looking at me like, "Is that a COVID side effect?" And I did my triannual Scott Pilgrim rewatch, and then I jumped down for Godzilla versus Kong, or Kong versus Godzilla. Which way is it? I always get it wrong. It's one of
this one's Godzilla versus Kong.
That's right. Yeah, because we watched Kong versus Godzilla.
Right, the original is
that was stupid good fun. This one is stupid good fun with better visual effects. I really enjoyed it. Ryan, who was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and we also did a little Snyder special where we agreed wholeheartedly, did not agree with me on this one. He bagged the shit out of it on Facebook.
Yeah.
So feel free to find him.
But he's buried in his dungeon watching movies, though. So see if you can get him outside in the light of day.
We'll all go to Japan, just walk up and go, not funny. I just it was a good film. I feel like there was just like one point in it where it was like suspension of disbelief just went fucking sideways out the window. But apart from that, I feel like it was super good fun. And what do you expect with Godzilla vs Kong? One thing I will say though, that Snyderverse fans took to it a little bit because they had this little incident where they got the Snyderverse and they were like, yay, now give us Justice League 2 and give us the Ayer cut and give us Justice League 3 and restore the Snyder universe. And DC went, Warner Brothers went, yeah, we're not going to do that. So they went, all right, fuck you, and went to Godzilla vs Kong and gave it 1-star reviews and review bombed it. And I'm like, what are you, fucking 5? Like, you didn't get what you want, so you're going to ruin... You're going to negatively review a film that has nothing to do with what you're doing and, like, ruin the hard work of all these fucking people who put all this effort in. Fuck off with that shit. You're ruining fandom.
You're not speculating, are you? Actually, you, like, saw this on a thread? Like,
yeah.
That happened?
They actually did that. Like, dude, it's been the week for it. Wyatt Russell, the guy in Falcon and Winter Soldier, Captain America 2, death threats. He's getting death threats. It's a character on TV, you stupid fucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, getting a little feisty now.
What the fuck, dude? No, I mean, we've all been fucking stuck.
And the worst part is they didn't even fucking review, they didn't even, death threat him. He doesn't have a Twitter. So they death threated his fan account. He got his death threat by proxy. You useless... No, I'm going to stop. It's my problem. I'll work through it. John, what are you watching?
You're right.
Well, I guess I'll kick it off by saying I watched the entire Q Into the Storm 6-part miniseries on HBO.
Jeez.
Which
are you okay?
Speaking of weird fucking nerds that sit at home too much on their computer and how they have too much influence on the world, maybe that'll tie into what you were just saying. I feel like we are living in existence right now where the loudest voices on the internet are people who you would never talk to in real life, who don't actually have friends, who definitely don't have balanced sex lives and love lives, and have way too much influence on all of us. So I don't want to give away the goose. There is a CNN special that Anderson Cooper did about a month ago. I recommend watching that one too. This one is more a filmmaker did a really good job of deep diving as soon as this basically got crazy at the beginning, end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And he tries to figure out exactly who it is. So I don't want to tell you who he thinks it is, but it's fucked up. And it says a lot, I think, about what we think about the internet universe. I also watched Godzilla versus Kong. And I didn't hate it, but I do think it's probably the worst one of that new reboot. I really enjoyed. Yeah, sure. And I think it probably is because of the shamelessness of the visual effects. I love the way Garrett, what's his name, directed the first one, where Godzilla is kind of in the background of shots a lot. There's only a few moments where it's full on Godzilla. And I thought that was so effective with the way they would build suspense and the way it would actually feel to have, a giant monster in your city. They've just gotten a little bit more shameless and tongue in cheek, wink.
They Spider-Man 3'd it.
Yeah.
You had Kong, you had Godzilla, you had Innerworld, you had fucking Mega Godzilla.
Just
what are you doing?
They really did. I think they did go.
2 movies.
I think they did go too much. Yeah, it was a little too much. But I like kaiju movies. I think it was still a fun time. I'm not going to hate on it. I watched Falcon Winter Soldier, a couple of those episodes because you guys talked about it last week. Yeah, fun times. No worries. And I finished The Boys, which was which was cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to season 3. Jeff, what'd you watch?
Falcon Winter Soldier, liking it a lot. Good stuff. I tried watching Seaspiracy. It's fucked up. I'm going to go ahead and spoil a little bit for you. I don't know if you knew this, but the tuna industry may or may not be murdering dolphins so that they don't eat their tuna. It's so fucked up, man.
Wow.
And of course, all the global warming implications. The ocean has the keys to trapping carbon, people. And then RuPaul season 13, not the best season. Candy, hanging on. You got to go soon, though, bro. It's next week's your week. You got to go.
Thank you, Dave.
Why do you always buzz that, man? These are popular shows.
No, you said it wasn't the best season.
And then,
I'm defending RuPaul right now.
Absolutely right. You got me good. And then SAG Awards happened last week, this past Sunday. So the SAG, all of the guilds are usually the best indicator for Oscars. So not to spoil what could come for the Oscars, but big takeaways here from the Screen Actors Guild Award, especially in the movie division, which is our account, so to speak. All 4 winners were non-white. You have Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the leading categories. You have Daniel Kaluuya is basically doing a clean sweep for Judas and the Black Messiah. And then you have Minari, who I probably should have looked her name up. I really don't want to mess it up, but the lady who played the grandma in Minari, who is insanely amazing. She's my choice in that category. She won. She was so grateful to win. It was awesome. So those are your 4 winners. Is that going to be the Oscars? Not necessarily, because Andra Day was not nominated for a SAG. For some reason, I don't know if it's because all of the movies came out late, so that maybe some people saw that it was 2.5 hours and Billie Holiday, maybe they didn't know who Andra Day was, but she was not nominated for a SAG. So she won the Golden Globe. Viola Davis won the SAG that Andra Day wasn't nominated for. So I think it's fair to say that it's a 2-woman race for that category. And is Chadwick the front runner for male? Probably. And then I think the supporting categories, we'll see. But that's it. Let's move on.
We are doing a special pick show, so we're going to
we'll get there. We'll get there with our picks soon. But let's get into our featured segments. So our second film, which we'll be talking about in a little bit, is going to be The Father, which is the most touching and moving horror film of all time. Wait, is it a horror film? I'm so sorry. I didn't know if it was a horror film or not. Is it dementia? Is it Alzheimer's? Is everybody messing with him? Is Anthony Hopkins as good as he was in Silence of the Lambs? Shout out to Olivia Colman as well. This is something. We'll talk about it soon, people. But first, that was the beer I didn't drink a second ago. We're going to talk about News of the World, which is our annual reminder that Tom Hanks has a degree in history. Fuck, I didn't open this one yet. Every year I hear, I was like, well, Tom Hanks.
We used an entire beer on our intros.
Like, Tom Hanks has been proving to us that he has a history degree. He has more movies about something historical than Stephen King has scary books about Maine. Okay, so let's move on.
Oh, come on.
That's a fair call.
Our two films are nominated for 10 Oscars. Our first film that we're going to talk about right now is News of the World. It is nominated for 4. Really surprised me. I did not see this coming when we made our list of Oscar films to watch. Here is the plot, people. This is a Paul Greengrass film. You may know him from Captain Phillips and a whole bunch of Bourne movies, as well as a couple others. This movie is about a Civil War veteran named Tom Hanks. He never has other character names. Let's be real. Like, his name is Tom Hanks. A Civil War. Fuck.
Okay, cool name. Well. I liked it. Captain Kid. I liked that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Captain Jefferson Kyle Kidd, sure.
That's pretty cool.
A Civil War veteran agrees to deliver a girl. I don't think they thought through that synopsis. Let's go ahead and say a Civil War veteran named Tom Hanks agrees to transport a girl taken by the
Still not good if you're in Florida.
Taken by a Kiowa. Yeah, you can buzz.
Is that a Gates step?
Guys,
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Jeff, what are you saying? Jeff?
I was complaining about the intro, but I will third fuck Matt Gaetz and also fuck their governor Roy DeSantis.
DeSantis.
Pay for playing piece of shit. Okay, a Civil War veteran named Tom Hanks agrees to transport a girl taken by the Kiowa people in Texas years after the Civil War, about 5 years after the Civil War, to her aunt and uncle against her will. She is not happy about this. They travel hundreds of miles across Texas and face grave diggers and some other sketchier people they could have thrown in this intro as they search for a place that either of them can call home. Longer synopsis is that Tom Hanks, who again was a captain in the Civil War, it was actually his 3rd war that he was a veteran of, so he's tired of fighting. He travels from town to town and he gives people the news, as he likes to tell us over and over again in this movie. So he takes the Washington Post and all of the other papers of the time, and he reads the highlights of the articles, and he goes town to town and he tells them stories. He's a storyteller. So that's Tom Hanks' job in News of the World, directed by Paul Greengrass, based on the book by Paulette Giles. It is available to rent on Apple TV Plus. What'd you guys think of the film?
Dave, why don't you kick us off and let's talk about what's right about this movie, which is all their under the line, below the line award nominations is technical stuff. When we say above the line, it's usually the names you've heard of, the actors, the director, screenwriter, and then below the line are usually the technical awards. That's what these 4 awards got nominated for. And they did have some pretty fantastic achievements in that department. Paul Greengrass is no stranger to approaching technical achievement. So Dave, why don't you chit chat about that for a second? Because you blew my mind with that thing you sent us.
There are some amazing visual effects in this for a start that you don't even see. Half the towns he walks into don't exist. Like, or at least in the form you see them in, they've had extensions added to them digitally, and it's all been like composited. Yeah,
brilliant.
And like there was one shot where I was like, it's a drone shot that comes in over the town. There's like a herd of like bison coming in. It looks. I was like, fuck, that's a good shot. And then I saw the effects reel, and none of it's real. Like there's half the town is there, and that's it. The rest of it is all CG. Like they've done a drone shot of the town and added all these elements, and I'm like, that's fucking phenomenal. That's what film's all about. It's a collaboration between visual effects to create an environment we just can't get anymore. And like for me, not only that, I really enjoyed this. I mean, they shot it on an Arri LF. Of course they did, because they're outdoors, and it's like they went, hey fellas, we've got the Arri LF. Let's shoot as many fucking sunsets and sunrises as we can. But holy hell, does it look good?
Like, I do want to point out, I do think this is interesting that they did not they got a production design nomination, not effects, which I thought was interesting, because I think that, you know, it's still a little annoying with the Academy Awards, because right now you're still allowed to vote across departments. So there are people who
until you get to the short list, right? No. I mean,
until you get to the short list,
the only award you can vote for everything is Best Picture.
But no, is it just a case of they went, hey, those towns were amazingly designed. Let's vote them for best production design, and like
that's
actually
what I'm saying.
It was special effects.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of feels that way. Yeah, and like where is the line there? Because I'm sure production design is working, you know, and directors and production designers are working with video effects.
Well, that's the thing. Production design tells those guys what to make. Like they get the storyboards and they get the concept art and all that sort of thing. So it technically is still production design. So it's a deserved Oscar nomination.
Absolutely. The lines are getting blurred. Okay, but why did you enjoy the movie so much? What did you like about it? You said you liked the way it was shot. But like,
I like the way it was shot. Like the large frame, the Arri large frame makes like the exteriors just look huge and your subject look tiny, which is great it really lends itself to this sort of film.
Yeah.
I was like, is Tom Hanks going to bring it? Of course, Tom Hanks is going to bring it. He did a great job. He endears himself to the audience right at the very beginning. He's mastered the art of that pause for thought for about 5 seconds, then speak.
He's
shot.
One of the better thinking actors of all time.
But there's the thing I love the most about this, and I'm a big fan of this particular method, is the show don't tell. Like, and that's what film is for. Show don't tell. And like there is a lot of instances where there's something subtle happening in the frame that's contributing to the story, or in the case of like what I think is one of the most respectful mentions of Native Americans in a Western film I think I've ever seen, where he mentions that where they're killing us because we're trying to take their land, and we're killing them to take their land. At some point we should stop fighting. And then the only other time you see Native Americans, they're helping them, and then they just move on. Like they give them a horse and then they move on. It's like they didn't portray them as the stereotypical like savages that a lot of Western films do. And it's not
they also didn't portray the Confederate captain as the savage that he probably was too. This is the most anti-racist Confederate war captain of all time.
I don't know, that guy that took over that town was pretty
No, that guy was Tom Hanks. Was surprisingly
well, yeah.
He was surprisingly
but again,
cool with everybody for somebody who fought in three wars,
dude. That levels you out a little. But I like how there's a couple of things, like they made the choice to make the cameras rough when they're on the carts. Like when there's times for the smooth shots, but when you're on the cart, you're on the cart with them. The camera is a character almost. It's part of the scene. So like you're getting the motion of being on the carts, that sort of thing. there's a couple of lines that are my favorite I'll bring up later, but things like with the show don't tell, like the non-use of dialogue, there's two big examples. There was like that when she opens the locket and he says, "That's my wife, she's down in San Antonio," then gets up and leaves. No explanation. You don't get that for another half an hour, and then you don't get the resolve of that till the end of the film. But the biggest one is when he takes the little girl and they end up at the house where she was taken, and she walks into the house, and the house is a little scattered, and there's like dark stains on the wall that might be blood, they might not, but there's also arrows in the wall, but you can only see them in like, you can see a shadow through a curtain, or you like there's just one arrow dirtying up the front of a frame out of focus. And it's that kind of really subtle filmmaking that it just fucking resonated with me. I actually love this film a lot. And,
nice, dude.
Shit.
Oh, look at you, motherfucker.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my gosh.
Gosh yourself there.
I did. I loved it. I thought it was great. Like I did not feel like I was watching a 2-hour movie.
I don't think I could say I reacted with the same positivity. There was no negativity. I just remember feeling like this was watchable. I'm not sure if anyone would have seen this movie if Tom Hanks wasn't the lead in it. I just don't know if it was this one thing that was kind of
somebody else, but yeah.
This is one thing that was kind of annoying that I couldn't help but be a little mindful of, was that I knew what this story was about, because I don't know if anyone recalls, but they actually started releasing trailers for this last year. So this was kind of an anticipated film in terms of marketing. And so I remember seeing trailers for this and like, oh, okay, that'll come out at some point in 2020 and we'll get to see a Paul Greengrass movie starring Tom Hanks. That'll be fun. So I knew what the story is about. The girl being, transported. What does that make me think of? True Grit. Can't help but think of it. We've seen, 2 adaptations of that film. I really love the Coen brothers. I like the John Ford one a lot too. So I was really hopeful. So maybe this is on me. Maybe this is me. But I went into this thinking, look, Tom Hanks is the history major. He doesn't take projects that don't have something to do with, the journalistic approach and history and stuff. And Paul Greengrass is, other than his action movies, that guy is a very socially conscious, journalistically conscious auteur. He has, a lot of his movies have something to do with what is happening in the world from a journalistic perspective. So I was really hopeful that part of Tom Hanks's character was going to introduce a lot of obstacles. That it wasn't just going to be, or mostly going to be, about him transporting the girl. And I think it ended up mostly being that. So I think I was just a little bit let down personally, because I thought there's one scene in the middle of this movie where he goes to a wild and rowdy county in Southwest Texas where they don't fuck around and they're bad and they're making hides. And he has some conflict that arises from him choosing not to read the local paper, but that's it. Other than that, I was really hoping that the news he was reading 5 years after the fucking Civil War ends in Texas, where they still had not actually acknowledged emancipation, I thought there was going to be way more that was going to infuse the problem of how do I get this girl across, and how do we not get killed because I'm pissing everybody off that I read the news to. And it kind of felt like they just didn't touch that at all. So again, maybe that's just me. And maybe I thought it was going to be something a little bit different than it was. It's beautifully shot. The acting is on point. The girl kind of annoyed the shit out of me. And I will just say this. I thought it was a little inconsistent.
She's like 11 years old, man.
The character, not the actor. The character, not the actor. I will say I thought it was a little inconsistent that in the script, whenever they commented on Native Americans, and like those scenes that Dave referenced, they did have a tremendous amount of respect. But this young girl who's not fucking 4 years old, she's like 10, 11, 12 years old. She acted like an animal. And I don't think that was I didn't think that was a consistent, respectful reflection of the people she was being raised by, which was a tribe of Kiowa Native Americans. So I thought that was strange that they would not let it go too. It was something they kept coming back to, was how she ate, how she did everything like kind of in a crass way. She was very not well behaved. And I wasn't quite sure if that was some like inconsistent kind of commentary on the Native American thing. I just felt like it wasn't clean. And I wasn't sure because I thought these are really serious filmmakers. All these details matter. I was trying to take everything that I could, and I felt like there were a few inconsistencies. However, that being said, I have been waiting Tom Hanks' entire career to see him do a Western. Paul Greengrass hasn't done a Western before. I like it when Tom Hanks tries to play against his type, because he so often, doesn't play a Rough Rider kind of guy. He did it in Road to Perdition, and I don't think it worked. I don't know if it worked really well. I like that movie a lot. So I was excited to see him take his countenance that we love so much, the good guy trying to do the right thing in a bad world, into the Western genre. So I appreciated his performance in it. And you're right, Dave, it was fucking beautifully shot. One image I can't get out of my head is that when he first decides to help her to take her, and he says, "I'll take her," and they're in the carriage, and it's a shot from behind, and it's just this beautiful sunset coming in like off the right side of the frame, and there's like a creek or a river next to them, and it just looked like fucking Oregon Trail shot in the most beautiful way you could possibly think of. So I don't know, I did appreciate that, but I wanted a little more drama. If I'm being honest, it felt a little safe to me.
Are you talking about the shot of the running river where he says we've got a long way to go? I
think so. Right at the beginning,
that river also wasn't real.
I'm sure none of it was fucking real. I'm sure. Dave, nice. Jeff, what did you think? Do you think
John, you still have an outstanding drink buzzer too.
Oh, good, man. I'm drinking.
he monitors. I think I agree with both of you. I probably am leaning more towards John, but I'm going to keep it positive here because it's just a fun fucking Tom Hanks movie, and it's a cool role to see, and the parallels to real time are there or not if you want them. The irony of seeing these people react poorly when he mentions Abraham Lincoln's name, and then you also see them loving the Confederacy. It's really funny. It's a 2021 politics that I would say with Paul Greengrass and Tom Hanks you can't deny. But then again, if you don't want it, if you did not see John's QAnon conspiracy documentary because it's about you probably would watch this movie and not make that reference. You probably just agree with everybody. And so there's a little bit, it's cool. I agree with everybody. I kind of agree about Tom Hanks and that I like him doing this and playing against type. Having said that, he was way too smart. He was way too quick-witted. He was way too articulate. He was not dirty or grungy enough. And so he probably could have gone farther. They could have just made him an alcoholic and pulled a Ben Affleck thing or something to do that. But
that's for mentioning Ben Affleck.
You know what I mean? He kind of sounds like he has like a modern Ivy League education. I was thinking for a second that he was actually Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. It's a Mark Twain book where somebody goes back in time and they're way too smart and witty for their time. I kind of thought that a little bit with Tom Hanks here. It was too clear and too clever. Like our boy Daniel, I know there's a Daniel alarm in there somewhere. He never would have been, even if the character was smart, he never would have been that quick-witted as Tom Hanks was in this movie. But Tom Hanks is a 9 out of 10 in this movie. Sorry, like he's.
I just want to clarify: are you saying Tom Hanks as the actor performing, yes, or are you saying the role?
Oh, the actor. He could play these words all he wants, but he was so like he's speaking with the distinction that I'm speaking today. There's no way that in 1870 they spoke that clearly. For instance, there's no way he would have been dirtied up. He would have been rougher. He would have been more relatable. He was not relatable to these. I mean, I guess they did play with that a little bit, but whatever. Okay, I said I was going to start with positive, and this is good. My only negative is that I saw this during the day, and those night scenes are so dark I couldn't see anything.
Yeah,
well, that's actually one thing I recommend seeing this in a theater if you can, because the shots not only would go from great to epic, but also there are some shots where they're designed for a darkened room.
I mean, there are times where you can only see a half a face and then like a pen. And so when I'm watching it at 3 p.m, I can't see a fucking thing on the screen. So maybe that's a little bit on me. But then again, I rented $6 and nowhere did it say, "Are you sure you don't want to wait until sundown?" So fuck you, Apple Plus. Or Apple Plus.
Apple Plus cares not for your time zone.
To what John was saying about the drama, I think I agree that the through line wasn't very dramatic. I mentioned Mother Courage for a different movie, a different part in this, which is a Brechtian play, German, long, it's a very old play, where there's no real plot other than her life sucks, and she's basically a gypsy woman just traveling around trying to sell shit, and like that's the whole story. And that is this movie. And so they basically try to have these moments. And so the child prostitution gag that comes after the girl, that's 3 guys in the thing, pretty fun. My mom liked it. I believe her comment was, "I wish Tom Hanks is a little bit more." Wait, what are we buzzing?
No, I'm buzzing because there was so much wrong with what you just said.
pretty fun.
On levels.
My mom liked it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Mom, I didn't mean to do you like that. I meant to say like it was action and it was in the you're in a desert, so they put it up in these like rocky cliffs. and it was like action, and it was finally like a real conflict where it's like, gee, if this doesn't work out, which spoiler, it's gonna work out, but if this doesn't work out, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? So we had like a little bit of conflict, but yeah, there wasn't really that through line. And if that's the point, if there's not going to be a through line and it really is this time-consuming long journey movie like A Mother Courage would be, that they didn't play the movie to that, if that makes sense. Having said that, who gives a shit? Most people who want to watch a Tom Hanks historical piece don't give a shit about any of this, so it doesn't matter. This movie was great for all of those people.
What did you think of the scene where he pisses off the wizards and they send the dust storm from Mad Max to kill him?
Yeah, and then no, I love that. And then of course the Native Americans appearing out of nowhere. It's a little unrealistic, but when you're watching a movie like this, it's fun, and you're waiting for something like that to happen. The dust storm happens, and you're like,
it's
okay,
funny,
great.
But those weather events are the only time you see them.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, and there's cool implications there that they're kind of like, they can't be out in public. Like they have to sort of hide, because these people in Texas don't care about them as normal people. Like they don't see them on the same level, no matter how uneducated and raucous they are. And they lost the war. By the way, I don't know. Some people out there today might want a reminder. Just as a reminder, dude, they lost the war.
Yeah, some people haven't got it yet. You're supposed to break it to them easy.
Anyway, this is a fine film. This is a fun film. It's entertaining. It was shot well. The score is nominated for an Oscar. It's great. The cinematography is nominated for an Oscar. It's great. It's a fine film. Is it worth $6? Maybe, depending on what you're up to. It's a new movie that stars Tom Hanks. Go for it.
I will say, I do think there is something to be said about, like we said, it has these nominations below the line. So it does kind of make you wonder, like, no one above the line is getting a nomination. So I do think this is also kind of a lesson for pretty much everyone involved here has gotten nominations for above the line things in their career in other films. So I don't know. I do feel like I'm vindicated in saying, unfortunately, if your story and the thing that most people are paying attention to when they're watching a movie isn't the main thing that they're focusing on, the average person isn't going to notice any of these things that it's being noticed for. That is getting nods from the Academy. So unfortunately, I do think that it's just not good enough.
I just want to know why visual effects and cinematography are referred to as below the line. What kind of elitist bullshit is that?
Yeah, well, I think cinematography is above the line, actually. I think, isn't it?
And Darius, I forget his last name, Darius
Wolski.
Darius Wolski has he did The Martian. He didn't get nominated. He's done other Ridley Scott movies like Prometheus, didn't get nominated. So it's good for him that he got nominated and such. And maybe he should be above the line. But you can't sit there and say Darius Wolski got nominated and people go, oh yeah. You know what I mean? So that's probably, he's a cusper, I guess, a cusper.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying. The point I was making is
really well.
The actors, most people
making.
Yeah, and
should we
me
keep
too.
Talking at the same time? I'm happy that
let's get Most people watch movies. The average person who watches movies is watching it for actors. That's the most reason that people will go see a movie is because they recognize an actor and they trust the movies they choose to make and stuff like that. And then I think people think a movie is good or not if the average person will walk away and say, oh, they were really good in it, but I didn't like the movie. Or they'll say the movie was good, which means they like the actor and they like the movie, which really means I like the story and I thought they performed it well. So
maybe escapism too. They want to travel to a different time and place. They got to. It's not the old like saloon like double door swinging westerns, but you do get to see some of the people and some of the towns and what it looked like then. So to take you out of your reality and to put you there, I think all of the production design did a fantastic job capturing that moment for people. And Tom Hanks was your surrogate to take you from town to town to kind of show you a little bit of what Texas was like when they were as racist as they are today.
That was buzzing Texas, by the way.
No, I was
sorry. I ruined the bipartisan nature of this podcast.
I pretty much just buzzed you in case anyone from Texas is listening right now, so they could listen next week. But
yeah. Come at us, Texas.
Yeah,
come and get it. Isn't that what you guys say? Come and get it.
I would love to have a discussion with Texas.
Wear a mask.
I have questions, Texas.
I've been there a couple times. Texas is great.
They have good food.
All right, I think we said everything we need to say. Pretty good film. I don't think it's a great film. Dave thought it was a great film. Jeff wasn't clear. Let's move on to let's go for it.
That's for you, motherfucker.
This is, guys, honestly, it's a good film. Put it on your Tom Hanks list of all the Tom Hanks movies. It's in your Tom Hanks queue. He has his own queue. Add it to the queue. If you haven't seen the Sally Stellenberger one and you're between that one and this one, that's a worthwhile conversation. I would love to be a part of your decision-making process. All right, people, 4 Oscar nominations for News of the World. We have to take a quick break to pee and freshen up, and then we are going to get into our second Oscar film, which is nominated for 6 Oscars. That is The Father. Who's the father? Anthony fucking Hopkins is the father, people. We will see you soon, film fans.
Texas!
And we're back.
We are back.
We're back, baby.
My gosh, people. That was our conversation of News of the World, starring Tom Hanks, history major, degree in history, Tom Hanks.
Can I just also say, like, from what we've watched this so far this year, I think the MVPs are the kids. To be honest,
John, do you agree?
Like, the girl was good. She pulled out a great performance for me, and then like we had the kid in Minari, and
kids in Minari,
and like the MVPs this Oscar season have been the kids.
Are you talking about music? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, I am not talking about music.
Right.
Fuck music. All right.
Can we go ahead and get back to our segment here on The Father, people, which is nominated for 6 Academy Awards. That is right, 6 Academy Awards. The Father, which is based on the play by Florian Zeller.
No.
Co-written by Florian Zeller and Christopher Hampton, who looks like John Voight grew his hair out to look like Barry Gibbs. And it is directed by Florian Zeller. So the playwright co-adapted the screenplay, wrote the film, and then he is director here, Florian Zeller. It stars Anthony Hopkins as, let's just call him the father. The father's name is Anthony. Oh my God, Anthony Hopkins' name was Anthony. That's right. The part was written for him.
Yes.
And Olivia Colman plays his daughter, we think. Do we know that it's his daughter? Let's just go ahead and say it's his daughter, Olivia Colman, also nominated for an Oscar. And then shout out to Mark Gatiss, who you may know if you're a fan of Sherlock, Doctor Who, and others. Olivia Williams, shout out, and Imogen Poots and Rufus Sewell come in to round out the cast. That's the whole cast, by the way. It's like a boy that chases a bag, and that's it.
Dude, so seriously, the amount of studio logos at the front of this film outnumber the cast.
Yeah, it's weird. This movie, here's the pitch here. A man named Anthony Hopkins refuses all assistance from his daughter as he ages. As he tries to make sense of his changing circumstances, he begins to doubt his loved ones, his own mind, and even the fabric of his reality. And I think that actually pretty well sums up this film. So the more extensive plot is Anthony Hopkins. Again, this is based on a play, which, by the way, I saw the play on Broadway. It did not star Anthony Hopkins, so I have a nice comparative going here. A lot of the dialogue is very faithfully adapted because it all came back to me as soon as I heard it here. Anthony Hopkins is losing his mind a little bit. Is it his age, Alzheimer's, dementia? Is it his family that's sort of encouraging him to think he's losing his mind so that they can put him into a nursing home? Right? So it's from Anthony Hopkins' point of view, though. So you start to see the spiral happen at the end of life when you can't put your thoughts and your memories together. That's basically what's going on here. But the setting is awesome because you have Olivia Colman's apartment. Anthony Hopkins' character moves in with Olivia Colman. But you also sort of see his apartment. These are flats because they're in London. And so the set changes when he thinks he's in one spot. But is it Olivia Colman's apartment but the plants are there? Or is it Anthony Hopkins' apartments because the plants aren't there, but it's just in his head? So maybe it's actually in Olivia Colman's apartment.
Or was he ever in an apartment at all?
Exactly. So that's basically what's going on in this film. It's only 90 minutes. This is available for rent at a pretty high price right now at $20 as of April 6th. It might go down by the time you hear this podcast. It is fantastic. It is about 90 minutes. I think I already said that. So let's just, because it's a little confusing to top like what the plot is, I think you get the picture. Who wants to take it away with their initial thoughts?
And I'm glad you called this a horror movie kind of jokingly at the beginning, because I think that's exactly what this is. It's an emotional horror movie that ends up having a different kind of catharsis than maybe a typical horror movie, but the elements of how to manipulate whatever your protagonist, whoever has the point of view is, it was used brilliantly. Probably better than I think a lot of horror movies, because I think a lot of horror movie filmmakers probably don't have enough respect for their audiences to try to challenge them as much as this film does. I was legitimately confused when they started playing with me, and I loved it because I knew I wasn't, I felt like I was in good hands. Seems like a play, intellectual kind of production here. I knew I just needed to keep going. I am so glad that this got another. We talked about News of the World. This also got Best Achievement in Production Design because it's the same fucking set that is used in a lot of really interesting ways. And it is probably my favorite character in the film is the set and the way that he, as a director, we have talked multiple times this is what a year of play adaptations, probably too many play adaptations for one Oscar year, but there have been a lot of play adaptations. I thought this
plays
one was
have lower casts, so you like.
I guess so. Smaller people, COVID. Yeah. I don't know when these things were made, but I thought this one was. I thought Florian Zeller, production designer, everyone involved, figured out a way to utilize film and editing. It got an editing nomination as well, to heighten what was happening with the way Anthony Hopkins as the protagonist perceived his physical reality, which was terrifying. Like, I think a lot of times when people try to capture dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of experience, especially on film, you end up pointing the camera at someone who doesn't understand where they are. This film,
it's always they're the subjects, you know what I mean? It's always from somebody else's point of view, and they're always assumed to be crazy.
This movie does not do that. That's why I think it succeeds so well. It puts you in his shoes, and it makes you stumble along with him, because even as Dave said, even by the end of this, I don't know if we can be 100% sure about anything that we saw, which is fucking terrifying. Which is why, spoiler alert, I think Jeff made a comment a few weeks ago about how Anthony Hopkins' last scene is, some people are saying that's why he got the nomination.
That's fair.
The catharsis thing I was talking about, the final scene, the emotional place that it goes to, away from the horror into this desperation, this childlike desperation, without literally giving away any of the lines, is very difficult to watch, but also 100% real and sincere. I think Anthony Hopkins gave a goddamn masterclass in acting once again, not just because he was handed a bunch of play monologues, but the way he handled all of the stuff that we were talking about before, most of the movie, where he's not quite sure and he's questioning his own sanity. There's a humility to him. He often doesn't go big with the way some people might try to chew up the scenery and make it about them.
Gushing.
I guess I'm gushing.
I'll come in on that really quick, because I didn't know.
You're not wrong, but you gushing.
I don't know if it gets to Hopkins right off the bat, but just to pass the torch. I saw this on Broadway with Frank Langella in that role, and Frank Langella is obviously awesome. He's obviously awesome. And so I spent a lot of this movie, well, not a lot, thinking about it. Actually, if we didn't pause the movie to get dessert, because this is what happens when you watch at home, I forgot the ending, which I did talk about it a couple weeks ago, because when we said The Father, I remember this play, it ended, blah. I forgot about the ending. And then once we paused it, then I remembered it, now that I had this context, because this movie takes you on a journey. And there's something that I was sitting there and going, why Frank Langella, could he have just done this too? And the answer is probably yes, because I'm very pro actor. So like, Frank Langella is brilliant. He's 4 Tonys. He won a Tony for this. So why couldn't he have done this on film? He's obviously a great film actor. He just did. I'm surprised he wasn't nominated for an Oscar for Trial of the Chicago 7, which he was nominated for other awards for being the judge. Anthony Hopkins has this sweetness about his face, and there's something about him, especially on film, where it honestly looks like he just woke up and said, what are my lines? And just did it. Like he didn't do any work, because there's no pushing, there's no playing, like playing as in like playing to the audience. It all seems so second nature to him that it doesn't even seem like it's work. It doesn't seem like he's doing a job. It doesn't seem like he's fulfilling a task. It's so naturalistic, but the detail is so ridiculous that there are times, as John said, like he's confused, so therefore the audience is confused. There are times where he chooses to not be confused because he's tired of being confused. And I am the audience, as the audience, go along with it. And I'm like, good, everything's fine. Even though I know that he isn't sure of the circumstances. He is just sitting there going, oh yes, I know exactly what's going on. You're right. Sorry about that. And then all of a sudden the audience were like, great. And we move on with their lives, even though we know deep down he doesn't know what's going on. And so it is like this movie, there are so many great things about this movie. Obviously the production design, all of the other nominations. The truth is, you are in his hands this whole movie. They are soft, delicate, gentle hands. Yes, this is Hannibal Lecter we're talking about. And sometimes he gets a little gritty and he gets a little fucked up and a little angry and a little frustrated, but you're always being cradled by him the entire way. That, again, watching this movie, I forgot that I knew the ending. I forgot. And I think it's 100% not because everybody else wasn't as good as him, but because he does something that you can't teach in film school. You spend a career, a life trying to teach kids to do what Anthony Hopkins does as second nature.
It's also sorry, Dave, I want to ask you a question after this.
Sure.
But just to heighten the Anthony Hopkins thing, you're right. Frank Langella or another actor of a certain age could have rocked this, but how brilliant is the casting? You know, you hear a director say all the time, 95% of your work in your film is done after you cast it correctly. You know, you're going to, and that they don't just mean acting. They mean you're surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to bring a story to life. Anthony Hopkins has had a career of playing roles that most of us keep at a distance. It's not just antagonistic. It's not just Hannibal Lecter, but the guy in Amistad, you know, like a lot of his famous roles, he's been away from us. We're not usually in his warm embrace of a point of view. So I also thought from a casting perspective, that was fucking brilliant because I was keeping him at a distance and it made me struggle even more with the horror of what was happening to him. And I felt like very organically, by the time we got to the ending, I was as sad for him as I needed to be. And I was as scared for him as I needed to be, which was a bit of a journey for me to get to. I wasn't there with him the entire time from the get-go, as if they had cast somebody like, I don't know, like Michael Caine or someone who's a lot more approachable and accessible as an actor in a protagonistic kind of role. So I thought that was also just from a casting perspective, that was brilliant. Olivia Colman is the lead actor, not a supporting actor, category fraud. Dave, what did you think of the
I actually might not agree with you, and I'm the category fraud expert here, but because she splits time even just slightly, I think they get away with it. That's what I think.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I was going to question that one, like, as well.
Yeah, I think it's horseshit. But
I mean,
Dave, did you like it, dude? Did you enjoy this as much as News of the World, or was it totally different?
I'm gonna read my notes out in order here because I made some notes, and this got 6 X's. No, I'm kidding. My first note was, okay, this is another case of shooting a play like a play, because there are some absolute fucking proscenium shots at the beginning of this where they just leave the camera and let them wander in it, and the camera's just static. And I got the sense that they were kind of learning cinematography as they went through this, but it was almost like they started far off and came in.
It did feel intentional, but I agree with you. It did. I mean, I was a little distracted at the beginning.
That took me out a little bit at the beginning. I can tell anyone who picks this up, like who does read this, it had lost me by 13 minutes in. And it had me back at 17. So just stick with it, because you're like, there's what's happening, and there's these weird shots.
Was that when Mark Addis and the woman came in?
And it was probably. Yeah, about then. But it was like, this is weird, and I don't know where this is going. I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then all of a sudden, it just draws you back in. I didn't actually feel like Anthony Hopkins' performance had me. Like, at first I was like, where is this Oscar nomination coming from? And then the moment on the couch after he's had the incident where the guy slaps him, and you don't know, like, it cuts between the two characters, so it's like completely disorienting. And like, it's one guy and then it's another guy, and did that guy slap him or didn't he? Did he imagine it or not? But he just sits down on the couch and bursts into tears twice. And I was like, yep, you got me right there.
Yeah.
Right there, he had me. It was like that. That is exactly like the situation. It's like, you don't know if it's real. He doesn't know if it's real. He's confused as fuck, and he's just burst into tears because he's completely vulnerable. And then you get to, obviously, the scene that Jeff mentioned, and it was like, holy fuck, dude. Like, that broke my heart. And I have like this icy cold fucking thing living in the middle of my chest. And it was like that, like, it was like, yeah, there he is.
Yeah, so sad.
There he is, and he was so mean. Sad. He was on. There's even like there was a couple of, like, some of the dialogue really shat me to tears. But fine.
Sorry, did you say? I'm from America. Did you say it shat you to tears?
It did.
Okay, cool.
Pissed me off, Jeff.
Pissed you off from a dialogue standpoint, or you just didn't care for what they were saying?
I didn't like all the ums and ahs and everything at the beginning. It was almost like he hadn't quite found his character yet. He was like for me, it was everything at the beginning is back here, and then you get.
I do agree with you, dude.
Then you get to the end of you get to the end of Act 1, which is obviously correct me if I'm wrong. Act 1 is when the guy first goes, "When are you going to stop pissing around and ruining people's lives?"
I think so. I can't remember.
Hanging on people's tits or whatever the line is.
And
because that's when you realize that's when you start to question whether or not everybody's doing this on purpose.
Yeah. And like when it comes back for Act 2, everything starts to shift and it's a whole different thing. And from that point on, it's a beautiful film. But at the beginning, it's like at the beginning you get the disorientation and everything that it's there.
Yeah.
But I feel like his powerhouse performance doesn't kick in till Act 2. But it's worth the fucking wait.
Yeah, it's just very naturalistic. It's very, very natural. And Olivia Colman.
My favorite line is not even by a major cast member. She's like, when the girl that comes in to be the minder and he gets the whiskey, it's like, it'll be all right. Do you think? Chugs whiskey. Yeah. It's like it's my favorite sequence in the whole film. She's like,
that's Imogen Poots. There's one questionable moment that stuck out with Imogen Poots, which I don't blame her as an actress. It's definitely a filmmaker thing because they punched in, which is he forgets a member of his family. Which, by the way, anybody again, I don't know, is it Alzheimer's? Is it dementia? That's not my account. But if you're going to be a caretaker of somebody in this world and they forget a family member, you probably shouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? And she was like, oh my God, you don't remember? And it's like, you know what you're getting into. Like, you probably shouldn't be surprised by that. Having said that, it's from his point of view, Anthony Hopkins. So I think they get away with it. But
I was waiting for when they revealed what happened.
Yeah, me too. But we all were at home, but we didn't need a surrogate in the movie. So that's like one tiny misstep.
That actually happens. That like when you have dementia, you substitute family members for other people.
Dave, what I'm saying is the caretakers of people with dementia wouldn't be surprised that you did that. That's what I'm saying. Like Imogen Poots goes, oh my gosh, I thought you knew. No, he has fucking dementia or Alzheimer's or both. So he doesn't know. But having said that, that was like,
was she
that
real?
Is one of the only, exactly. It's from his point of view. And I think the filmmakers and the one benefit, this is our third play adaptation that we've done.
I'm kind of thinking that character didn't exist except in his head.
You might be right.
Yeah. Because she was the daughter that he was surrogating on the nurse. So
to that, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm even in my head sitting here saying like, well, maybe it was all from his point of view, so maybe he was interpreting it that way because he's thinking that everybody thinks he's crazy, and that is one thing that drives people crazy.
He pulled faces for his inner monologue.
Touche. My last note here is that was so sad, and the ending is sad, people, but it's worth it. It's a cathartic sad. I don't think it's like a depressive sad.
No, the ending is totally worth it.
Yeah. In light of what Dave, I think the ending is the perfect exclamation point to kind of what Dave was saying. The evolution of the filmmaking in this movie builds to something that happens with the camera in the very last moment that they don't do anything like this. The camera doesn't really move off the tripod in this entire movie. It doesn't exist.
Oh no,
it's not floating.
It starts to track and all sorts of stuff in the second act.
It does move with him.
It changes techniques as we go. It's like
it does move with him, but it doesn't
change.
But there's always a focus. But there's always a focus on a subject. So I feel like what happens in the ending is heightened because it finally goes away. I feel like it frees you in the way that it wants you to feel like you're being freed by what is happening to him with the dialogue and emotionally. Filmmaking wise, cinematographically, it also frees you with where it takes you. I don't want to literally say what it does, but the ending, everybody keeps talking about the ending to this movie. It is a very powerful last scene. And it does kind of start you need to be frustrated at some points with a movie like this, because whether you like it or not, this is a movie about whether or not what you're seeing is real, which means that all the little things that Jeff and Dave were having issues with, I think he wanted you to be saying, am I frustrated with that? Because yada, yada, yada. It doesn't feel real to me. I don't know if it's real to him. My only critique of this
is I had to get past the fact that I was watching a play, and it was very evident at the beginning that you're watching a play. And I feel like if
it didn't bother me. I agree with you. It didn't even come close to how much I was bothered by the other two plays for the entire movies. It just wasn't. I agree with you that it went away from it a lot more successfully than One Night in Miami or More Rainy. So it did. It was interesting to me that everything they were doing filmmaking wise at the beginning was almost intended to feel like you're sitting back and you're watching this. I don't know if they needed to do that. I think I was ready to come in closer and really live with both of them. And I think I would have had the rug pulled out for me even more. Yeah. But what an achievement. Florian Zeller has he's directed a few other things, but nothing at this size in terms of acclaim and cast and scope and money and wow. So, I mean, this is something, this is like an art house film that I'm really glad it's getting notice.
Yeah.
And with Olivia Colman, you get instant pathos. She's just one of those people. If you've ever seen Broadchurch, not the comedies, and I know I'd already seen The Crown, but The Crown is postured. So this is, and which she's brilliant at, but this is just one of those where if you need a reaction, you get it. She just is so relatable and so caring and charming, and you just go with her. I think she's a really, really cool surrogate for the audience and how the audience could be feeling, even though it's from his point of view. I think it's pretty cool.
I also did like the thing about the watch. Like
that happens in real life.
The watch, the watch was his anchor.
This kind of movie is going to bring you up to any time if you've ever had a family member deal with this, which I certainly have in my family. I watched this with my parents and Chloe, but certainly let my parents and my mom especially, but both my mom and my dad were like, that happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah, I do think that, we're living in this age where like every fucking, group on earth is fighting to have more of a louder voice. And you know what community does not have a loud voice and doesn't have the social media means to talk about it?
Anybody who's retired.
Elderly people. Just retired, specifically like elderly people. Yeah, less the boomers, more Anthony's generation, like the ones that are above them. And, it's only every now and then that, first of all, there aren't that many really huge actors who choose to keep acting up through the end of their career. I think at some point, a lot of them do kind of hang it up. I even heard Anthony Hopkins in an interview talking about how maybe 5-6 years ago, he was thinking about hanging it up because he just really wasn't getting roles that were really pushing him. And Gene Hackman literally retired and he said, quote, "I don't want to play grandpas." So I do think it's also exciting to see this perspective because we really just don't get it very much in cinema.
And my favorite two performances of this year, possibly, we will do our list soon.
Yes.
Anthony Hopkins, who is a quote unquote grandpa, and the grandma in Minari, who is an actual grandma. So what, Gene Hackman, read some scripts, or retire.
Come back to
us. Or retire, but don't shit on grandparents because oh my God, they think about the wisdom and fuck, man. Yeah. All right. Anything else? This movie is amazing, but you just have to see it. There's only so much we can say about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying as well. It's not going to grab everyone at the beginning, but holy fuck, stick with it. Stay with it. It will
trust the play.
Yeah, if it doesn't get you by the end, you don't have a heart.
Yeah, it is quite an experience.
Those people always give people a stick in their ass, what Dave just said. But okay,
fuck you guys.
Find out whether or not
there's something wrong with you.
I would say, kind of like a Nomadland. This film is probably, in terms of form, it probably is going to watch unlike movies. You probably haven't seen many movies like this before, unless you've watched.
People love actors. Man. A lot of people are just. More so than Nomadland, which obviously Florence is one of our, not Florence, Jesus Christ. Franny is one of our favorite people of all time. This is you can follow those. Every scene has an actor that you can follow really well. So I think it's successful as fuck. And it's only 97 minutes.
I'll tell you what, it's nominated for production design. Yeah. My wife came out and watched, I want to say 15 minutes of this because I was already halfway through it by the time she got to it. And she watched about 15 minutes of it and she's like, wow, it's amazing how much the house looks like a nursing home or looks like a hospital.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, 15 minutes. She picked up on that in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
all right, people. Do it. So, that's it. That's what we're going to talk about today. We just talked about 10 Oscar nominations in 2 films. These were fantastic films. We're doing a pretty good job of backloading fantastic films that we did not necessarily expect would be nominated when we made our time frame. So kudos. Awesome. Next week, people, we are very, very close to the Oscars in case you're listening to this in the future. All right. But next week, we are going to be doing 2 more Oscar nominated films that are both streamable for free, assuming you pay your subscription fees for your services. We have Another Round, which is nominated for Best Director, Thomas Vinterberg, and Best Foreign Language Film. It also stars Mads Mikkelsen. It is about guys who are older, middle-aged, who think it's better if they stay drunk all the time, that their life will be better. What a premise. Like, we should just fucking get on board with starring Mads Mikkelsen, nominated for Best Director.
What's the opposite of a buzz? I need an opposite of a buzz.
It's the opposite of we should gush that. We should just gush that line.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that.
And then we're going to watch Pieces of a Woman, which stars Vanessa Kirby, nominated for Best Actress. I believe the premise is she loses a child very early in her life, or maybe even a pregnancy. And so we don't know much about it, but we're going to know all about it next week when we see it. Those are, again, very, very, very streamable for free if you pay your subscription services. Netflix and I think Hulu for another round, although I'll have to double check. Anything we should say before we send the people off, people?
No, that was very good.
Yeah.
Watch all these movies. Try to watch all these movies, because either the week after or the week after that, we are, like we said, we are going to be doing a Oscar picks episode, and that is going to be spoiler fucking filled. So we're going to be talking about all these movies, all these performances.
We're going to want to know your picks in the chat, in the messages. So yeah.
So please try to catch up so you can have something to say and join us. All right.
Signing off. Peace. See you soon, film fans.